What's up, everybody? We're here to go over UFC 296, Edwards versus Covington. Real quick, as far as the results for the last card goes, it was a bad card for me. Not much to talk about. I had one bet that hit and two bets that didn't hit. The bet that hit was a two-fight parlay on Joaquim Silva and Arman Sarukian, and the other two plays, I had a small play on Kevin Gastelum and a one-unit play on Rob Font. Obviously, neither one of those hit. I mean, obviously, I'm not the only one that made those mistakes. There was a lot of people that had picks on both of them as well. Um, yeah, and I don't know, man. It's just I guess when you looking back on it in hindsight, you think about who Kevin Gastelum's been facing up at middleweight. There's not a lot of good grapplers up at middleweight, and the ones that there are, Kevin Gastelum hasn't fought. So and when you think about it, when has he had to really use his grappling, recently? I mean, not really. He's been fighting mostly strikers and stuff like that. Um, and then as far as Rob Font goes, man, I mean, it was just kind of a combination of I think maybe all the damage that Rob Font has taken, going 5 rounds with Vera and getting, dropped, in every round, or the beat down from Corey Sandhagen, all these, not a lot of people are finishing Rob Font, of course, but he's taken a lot of damage in a lot of his fights. And I think maybe that's kind of catching up to him, along with the combination of just Figueredo looking really good at 135 and not having to cut that extra weight and being a little bit more comfortable and you know just a combination of both, man. So yeah, I made a mistake there, man. I only lost about a unit on the card, so not too bad. It could have been a lot worse. But yeah, man. So hopefully we'll do better on this weekend's card on Song versus Gutierrez, and then on this card. And then I'm looking forward to the month off, man. So I'll be relaxing and actually not watching fights for a little while, man. So but yeah, man. So please like and subscribe if you haven't already, man. It'd really help me out a lot. If you're new to the channel, what I do is I go through and give out all my picks for each fight, and then at the end of the video, I give out my bets for the card. And if you're not interested in watching my videos, you just want to see my picks and my bets, you can go over to my social medias. Um, High Kick_Fight Picks is Instagram and YouTube, and then there's a Facebook group, just High Kick Fight Picks on Facebook, easy to find. And then what else? What else? Oh, and if you're subscribed to my channel on YouTube as well, all my I post my flyers and stuff on there as well in the community tab, so that stuff will pop up on your feed when you're scrolling or whatever as well. So whatever way you want to go about it. Um, yeah, so it sucks seeing Bobby Green get beaten till he was unconscious when the ref should have stopped it ahead of time. That's the last thing I want to talk about. The Sarukian and Green situation I found pretty stupid, man. I don't know, like a bunch of guys walk up on Green while he's sitting there by himself. I don't know, man. That's just stupid to me. I mean, I wouldn't think Arman Sarukian would be that kind of person, but whatever. Uh, but yeah, man. So there's a lot of fights on this card, man. A lot of dogs that I'm picking. Pretty dicey card, really, for the most part. But a lot of good fights on here. And I know there's a last minute opponent change for Josh Emmett's now not fighting Giga Jakazi. He's fighting Bryce Mitchell, and that's really the only fight we lost, man. But I'd had all my notes and everything done for Emmett versus Jakazi, and then they just switched it to Mitchell and Emmett. So I'm gonna keep it kind of short on this first fight, which is Emmett versus Mitchell. Did watch the tape on it today. I was just trying to get this video out to you guys because I'm already a little bit behind, so I didn't go in depth on my notes or anything. I think we all know what this fight comes down to, at least as far as this fight goes. Um, Josh Emmett is 38 years old, almost 39 now, 5'6" with a 70-inch reach. He is 18-4 and 9-4 in the UFC, and he's a plus 130 underdog. Yeah, he's got big power in his hands, man. Decent striking, pretty good boxing anyway. Has largely won fights by landing the bigger shots and stealing rounds by dropping guys and stuff like that. 6 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission. Has taken a lot of damage in his last 2 fights. He fights well in the pocket. He's got a really nasty right hand. He lands on average 4.70 strikes per minute, but absorbs 4.66, so almost the same amount. 38% takedown accuracy, 36% striking accuracy, 47% takedown defense. Averages almost 1 knockdown per 15 minutes as well. But this is a complete switch up in game plan for him here. Going from Jakaji to Mitchell, not Missile. He's going from having to get the takedowns against Giga Chikazi to having to defend them, against Mitchell. If Emmett can keep this fight on the feet, he definitely wins. I could definitely see a world where, supposedly Josh Emmett has this wrestling background and everything, and we've never really seen him use it that much. So that's just that's like the kind of the X factor here is like, is Mitchell going to be able to get him down? Because if he can't get him down, he's going to lose. For the most part, other than Topuria, Mitchell's gotten everybody down. But I'm sure Josh Emmett has been working a lot of wrestling, for this fight for Jakazi, because there was no way he was gonna, win on the feet against Jakazi, at least you would think. So it's kind of a what if there, man. I don't know. There's a big part of me that wants to pick Josh Emmett. Um, I don't know if I can. I don't know, man. But he's taking on Bryce Mitchell. He's 29 years old, 5'10", with a 70-inch reach. Both these guys have the same reach. Mitchell does have quite a few inches in height on him. He's 16-1 and 7-1 in the UFC. He's a minus 150 favorite. He's never won or lost a fight by knockout, and he has 9 wins by submission. And we all know the story with him, man. He's good at one thing. He's not a good striker really at all, but is a very good wrestler, very dangerous submissions. I'm not a big fan of him. I find most of his fights pretty boring and all that, but he does go out there and get the win, so you got to respect that. I want Josh Emmett to win this fight, but I don't know, man. If it is short notice for Mitchell, maybe Josh could win. But we all know that if Mitchell can get Josh down, he wins this fight. Probably wins a boring decision. Um, I know everybody's going with Mitchell. There's a big part of me that wants to go with Emmett, man, just because it's short notice and whatever. And I hope Emmett wins. But Mitchell's gotten everybody down that he's fought so far, except for Topuria. And I guess I'm going to go with Mitchell on this pick, man. I really don't want to. I want Emmett to win, but um, I think I'll go with Mitchell. I think if other people have gotten Emmett down, Mitchell may be able to as well. And unfortunately, I'm going to go with Mitchell to win by decision. Next up, we got Andre Fili taking on Lucas Almeida. Andre Fili is 33 years old. He's 5'11" with a 74-inch reach. He is 22-10 and 10-9 in the UFC. And let me check on the odds real quick on this because they weren't up whenever I was doing my notes for this fight a few days ago. I always forget to go back and get them before I do before I start the video. So let me just pull that up. Surely they're up now anyway. Yeah, Andre Fili is a minus 180 favorite. Lucas Almeida is a plus 150 underdog. And so Andre is coming off a loss to Nathaniel Wood, where he actually had a lot more success in that fight than a lot of people thought he would. He dropped Wood a few times. So it wasn't all around a terrible showing on his part, man. He's a very tough guy. He's been around a long time. He's only lost to really tough guys, man. If we look at his record here, he's lost to Nathaniel Wood. He beat Bill Algeo. He lost to Joe Anderson Brito. Lost to Bryce Mitchell. Lost to Sadiq Youssef. He has a win over Charles Jourdain. Lost to Michael Johnson, Calvin Kattar, Yair Rodriguez. These are all guys that are, that don't lose very often, man, or on good runs or whatever, man. He hasn't really. I mean, I know Michael Johnson is on a bad run now, but back in 2018, Michael Johnson's a tough veteran, so it was a split decision loss. Not a bad look there. That was probably his. What was that? I guess he had quite a few fights in the UFC by then. But I mean, He lost to Max Holloway. I mean, he's only lost to really tough guys, man, and he's very well rounded. Um, where was that? 9 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. Has a long reach, man. He's gonna have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. He has 1-3-1 in his last 5 fights. So although everybody's super confident in him and everything, hasn't really been getting the results that he's been looking for. But he's also been fighting, really tough guys. His kicks are one of his best weapons, and that was on full display against Bill Algeo. Man, he hurt Bill with his high kick a few times because Bill keeps his hands really low. Throws a lot of good long punches, nice and straight down the middle. If he can use his reach and keep Almeida at bay with his jabs, he might have a shot to win this fight. Also, there's a chance he may be able to get a takedown. I wouldn't say he's a super high level wrestler, but he is well rounded enough to get guys down that don't have good takedown defense. He was able to get Nathaniel Wood down, in that fight for a little bit. And even though Andre hasn't had a lot of finishes in the UFC, he does hit very hard. He has great technique with his hands, very accurate. Doesn't load up or overthrow on everything. So he doesn't waste a lot of energy. And he switches stances a lot. His footwork has improved a whole lot. Um, he will switch stances and throw that straight right hand and will come over with the right kick at the same time. It's very sneaky, and the punch hides the kick very well. So nice knees in the clinch. There's no question that Philly is the more skilled guy here, the more well-rounded guy, the more technical guy. But Almeida hits very hard. Taking on Lucas Almeida, he's 32 years old, 5'11" with a 71-inch reach. He is 14-2 and 1-1 in the UFC, and he's a plus 150 underdog. So Lucas has never won a fight by decision. He has 9 wins by knockout and 5 wins by submission. He's struggled with really high level grapplers. I mean, really just with Pat Sabatini, honestly. I mean, he's only lost twice, and the other loss was to Daniel Zellhuber on the Contender Series, and he had a really good first round in that fight, man. And Zellhuber's on a good run in the UFC right now. Um, Lucas can be very wild with the striking. He tends to go out there and just go for it really hard immediately. He hits very hard. He's a killer be killed type fighter. And I'm kind of a fan of this guy, man. Watching the tape, every fight is an exciting finish. He throws nice calf kicks, pretty slick boxing. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and just didn't show anything off of his back against Pat Sabatini. Couldn't get back up, but Pat is a very high level grappler, man, and he does that to most of the people that he fights. Lucas has very fast hands, throws nice combinations. And in the Trezano fight, he kept throwing the right hand to the left hook to the liver, and then low kick to the leg. It's a pretty nasty combination, man. It was very effective. He landed that several times. He's going to have the speed advantage in this fight and the power advantage, I think. We saw him go through adversity in the Trezano fight. He got hurt and dropped and survived, and then he came back to get the knockout. So I do think Philly is the more skilled fighter here, but I think he will have to get Almeida down to win this fight. If Wood could drop Philly, Almeida definitely can too. Originally, I thought I would go with Philly for sure, but now I'm not so sure. I think Almeida's power may be the deciding factor in this fight. As long as he can keep it on the feet, I'm not super confident in that. But I may look stupid, going against Philly. I know everybody's going with him, but I think I'm going to take Almeida to win, and I don't know if he'll get a finish, but I think he's going to drop Philly several times in this match and end up winning a decision based on landing the more meaningful shots. As long as he can get going, man. He never got going in the Pat Sabatini fight, but if this fight is on the feet, man, Lucas is very, very slick on the feet, man, and he's very powerful, man. So I'm going to take Almeida to win. I'll take him to win by decision. Next up, we got Shamil Gaziev taking on Martin Beday. And Shamil is 33 years old, 6'4", with a 78.5-inch reach. He is 11-0, and this is going to be his UFC debut. And he's a I think he's a plus 150 underdog now. This guy's had a couple of good wins over in Brave FC. He beat a 6-0 guy on the Contender Series, very powerful. Has shown to get very tired in the past after the first round. He's a big guy, man, but he's going to be the smaller guy in this matchup for sure. He's definitely going to have a speed advantage, a 1.5-inch reach advantage, 7 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. Has only gone to a decision once. Went 9-2 as an amateur coming out of Russia. So this is a very tough dude for sure, man. Really nice boxing, throws great combinations, nice uppercuts, pretty good offensive wrestling. He's been very dominant, man. We haven't seen him in any trouble really. He did get dropped against Darko Stostic. Sorry. But he got back up and he won the fight. I think he ended up winning that fight by knockout. I don't know, I just watched it, but I watched so many fights. Yeah, he won by knockout. And Darko's a very tough guy, man. A lot of tough guys over in Brave FC. Man, and this guy's undefeated. So I mean, originally when I was doing I'll talk about that in a minute. But he's taking on Martin Beday. He is 32 years old, 6'4" with a 77-inch reach. He is 13-1 and 4-0 in the UFC, and he's a -180 favorite. His most impressive win was over Lorenzo Hood on the Contender Series. He's looked good in the UFC, but all his wins have been over like really low-level heavyweights. I've made a lot of money on Martin Beday in his last like 3 fights. I've had money on him. He's a huge guy. He has good cardio. He's never been finished. 6 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. He comes in way over 265 on fight night. I mean, I bet he comes in weighing 275, 280. We saw him have trouble against Jake Collier in the first round because of Collier's speed, and I think I can see that playing a factor in this fight as well. I want Beday to win this fight, not really anymore because I decided to go against him and put some money on it, but I really wanted to pick him. He fights well in the clinch. He's good at controlling guys up against the cage. He could definitely outlast Shamil and get a finish in the third round. But Shamil's never been finished, and I think he's going to use his speed to win. If anything, I think he'll at least win the first 2 rounds with his speed and his power, or get a knockout, man. So, unfortunately, I know everybody's going with Beday, but I'm going to go with Gaziev, man. Take the underdog here. Next up, we got Cody Garbrandt taking on Brian Kelleher. uh, I wonder if everybody's going to hate on me for this pick too. Um, Cody Garbrandt is 32 years old, 5'8" with a 65.5-inch reach. He is 13-5 and 8-5 in the UFC, and he's a -215 favorite. So Cody's a former champion. He has all the skills, 10 wins by knockout. He's never won or lost a fight by submission. Has really good footwork, big power, very slick striking, very fast and explosive. Really good at moving in and out of the pocket, very good counter striker. Great takedown defense. He's going to have a 1.5-inch reach advantage in this fight. Nice kicks to the body. Does really well when he doesn't rush things and take a lot of risk. That's how he was getting caught rushing in and stuff like that and getting knocked out over and over. He's coming off a win over Trevin Jones where Trevin just didn't do anything at all in that fight until the third round. And when he finally hit Cody once, he hurt him, badly and made the mistake of going to the ground with Cody and kind of letting him off the hook. Just kind of a bad fight IQ on Trevin Jones's part. But Cody was able to slide by with the decision because of that. And Cody's a great fighter, but he's been knocked out 4 times in the UFC, which is what scares me the most about him. He is the better fighter here, man. He's just, his chin may not be the greatest. Is my fear. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful. It's just that when he gets hurt, every time somebody hits him or whatever, it's hard to pick him. With that, he shows 40% striking accuracy, 34% takedown accuracy, 79% takedown defense. Lands 3 strikes per minute on average, but absorbs 4 per minute. And he's taking on Brian Kelleher. He is 37 years old, 5'6" with a 64-inch reach. He is 24-14 and 8-7 in the UFC. He's a +175 underdog. 8 wins by knockout, 10 wins by submission. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, but his last 3 losses have been to guys that aren't losing, especially the last 2. If we go back and look at that, I mean, he's got a loss to Ricky Simone, who finally lost to Song Yadong, and then he has a loss to Umar Nurmagomedov and Mario Batista, 2 guys that are on runs right now. I mean, Umar is undefeated. Mario Batista is on a several fight winning streak on his way to a title fight right now. So no, I don't hold that against him very much, man, at all. And Brian made it look easy against Domingo Pilarte and Kevin Kroom. Two guys that probably aren't in the UFC anymore, obviously, but still, man, he's not afraid to fight anybody. He takes the tough fights and whatever. So, he has been submitted a lot of times, man, but Cody has never submitted anyone. Going back and looking at Brian's losses, they have all been to legit competition. Has decent wrestling, good AA takedowns, great ground and pound, and elbows from top position as well. He fights aggressively. He's not going to sit back and let Cody win a decision like Trevin Jones did. He shows 43% takedown accuracy and 60% takedown defense. And he averages almost 2 knockdowns per 15 minutes, lands 3.36 strikes per minute, and absorbs 4.61 strikes per minute, which isn't good. His average fight time is 8 minutes and 24 seconds. So I won't argue that Cody has the better skills in this fight, but I can't bring myself to pick him. And I don't know if anybody else feels that way or if it's just me. Keller has only been knocked out once, so I don't think Cody's going to knock him out. Cody hasn't ever submitted anybody, like I said, but I think if Brian hits Cody, he's going to hurt him. So I'm going to take Keller to win by knockout, man. Round 2, and let's just look at Kelleher's losses real quick in the UFC. So I already talked about those 3. He lost to Cody Stamann, Montel Jackson, John Lineker, Marlon Vera. I mean, those are all really tough guys, man. So the weakest one is John Lineker, but at that time, John Lineker might have been on a serious run. So, yeah, no shame there, man. I think he's a lot better than everybody's giving him credit for. So, I don't know if anybody agrees. Let me know in the comments. Next up, we got Alonzo Minifield taking on Dustin Jacoby. And Alonzo is 36 years old. He's 6 foot tall with a 76-inch reach. He is 14-3-1 and 7-3-1 in the UFC, and he's a plus 164 underdog. And yeah, Alonzo is a big, powerful guy. Very explosive in the first round. Has 9 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission. Does have some questionable losses. Mostly, the worst one was to William Knight. That's not a good look at all. But overall, a very fun and impressive fighter to watch. He's won his last 3 fights by finish. Throws a lot of power shots. Loads up on all his punches. But when he does land, he hurts guys. So if you can get him out of the first round, you stand a lot better chance at winning against him. His takedown defenses look pretty bad at times in the UFC, but he's not going to have to worry about that here. Jacoby's a kickboxer. Alonzo does have nice submissions, man. Good guillotines and Von Flue chokes, Darce chokes. Shows 58% striking accuracy, 31% takedown accuracy, and 76% takedown defense. Even though he was taken down a bunch in the Jimmy Crute fight and I think the William Knight fight. Lands on average 3.82 strikes per minute, absorbs 3.90 strikes per minute. Average fight time is 6 minutes and 53 seconds. So he always has a shot at winning a fight, man, because he's very powerful. He's going to have the power advantage in this fight. Jacoby has knocked a few people out, but, for the most part, he's been kind of outpointing guys to decisions. I hope he knocks Alonzo out, but, not likely. And Dustin Jacoby is 35 years old, 6'3", with a 76-inch reach. He is 19-7-1 and 7-4-1 in the UFC, and he's a minus 195 favorite. And this is his second run in the UFC, man, and since returning, he's gone 7-2-1. He's a great kickboxer, left MMA for a while and went and found success in Glory Kickboxing before returning to the MMA. And he has 12 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. He's very tall and rangy, and even though these guys have the same reach, I think Jacoby's a lot better at using his reach than Alonzo. I'm a big Jacoby fan, but I made the mistake of picking against him, in his last fight, and he got a really impressive knockout, man. I mean, that was an impressive victory. I didn't see that happening, really. Honestly, I thought Nchekwu was going to go out there and get Jacoby down and whatever, man. And Jacoby proved me wrong, so very impressive. And he lands a lot of volume. He'll sit back and pick guys apart, and just land shots. He doesn't really load up or overswing very often. Uses a lot of kicks, very good calf kicks. Has a nice straight right hand, switches stances a lot, good footwork and head movement. Very good at circling and not backing up against the cage. Very good at pulling guys into his punches as well. And great counter strikes. He lands on average 5.46 strikes per minute, 60% takedown defense. I think he would be smart to keep Alonzo up against the cage in the first round and just kind of wear on him and fight him in the clinch, tire him out a bit. Dustin is the better striker. I think Alonzo could have success in the first round, but I think Dustin takes over and wins the last 2 rounds and wins a decision here. Next up, we got Randy Brown taking on Muslim Salikov. And this is a fight I decided to stay away from altogether as far as betting goes. Randy Brown is 33 years old. He's 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. He is 17-5 and 11-5 in the UFC, and he's a minus 195 favorite. He might be a little bit bigger favorite than that now. Randy's very tall and rangy for the weight class. 6 wins by knockout, 5 wins by submission. He's going to have an 8-inch reach advantage in this fight. Very good at fighting long, uses good teep kicks to help keep guys at bay. But honestly, he didn't look like the big favorite he was in his last fight, man. He had a good first round, but kind of just did enough to get the win in his last fight against Wellington Turman. I wasn't very impressed with it. He was eating a lot of leg kicks, and Turman has struggled to find success in the UFC. So I expected Brown to win that fight easily, but he didn't, and it was a closer fight than people thought it was going to be. He's pretty well rounded, man. He's hard to take down, but we saw how easily Della Maddalena finished him. He's taking on another high level striker here. So even though I think Brown should win this fight, there's a part of me that thinks Muslim Salikov is going to go out there and knock him out, in the first round. Randy is good at rolling with punches. He has nice head movement, uses his jab very well, puts out good volume, throws a lot of nice straight punches down the middle. 74% takedown defense, 39% takedown accuracy, 48% striking accuracy. If he gets out of the first round, he'll most likely get a decision win here, I think. And he's taking on Muslim Salikov. He is 39 years old, 5'11 with a 70-inch reach. He is 19-4 and 6-3 in the UFC. He's a plus 160 underdog. 12 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. Coming off a loss where he got out cardioed by Nicholas Dalby, but that seems to happen to a lot of people here lately. He competed in Wushu Sanda and had almost 200 fights in that, and he went 185 and 13 and won a lot of titles in that martial art. So that's pretty impressive. He's very powerful, and he may actually be the more accomplished striker here in this matchup. Definitely has the power advantage, at least early in this fight for sure. Both these guys have looked tired in the third round, recently. Muslim throws a lot of nice spinning attacks, and he really likes to throw those when guys are, on the fence. He'll push guys up against the fence and throw the spinning attacks. There's a big part of me that really wants to pick Muslim here, but Brown should win. He's younger and all that. I'm going to pick him to win by decision, but I'm not super confident for some reason. I don't know. For some reason, I worry a lot on this one, so I'm not going to bet on this fight at all. Next up, we got Casey O'Neill taking on Ariana Lipsky. This is another one that I just don't understand. I don't understand why everybody's so confident that Casey O'Neill's going to win. I really don't. um, Casey O'Neill is 26 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. She is 9-1 and 4-1 in the UFC, and she's a minus 170 favorite. And Casey has good kickboxing. She has 3 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission. We saw her get outclassed by a legit UFC veteran in her last fight against Jennifer Maia. And now looking back at Casey's wins in the UFC, they aren't very impressive, man. The only person that she's beat that's still in the UFC is Antonina Shevchenko. I guess most of her wins in the UFC have been by finish, so that's what's impressive about it, I guess. But none of those people made it in the UFC, I don't think. And Modafferi retired. So she has good power. She's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. She's pretty well-rounded. Pretty good at getting back to her feet when she's taken down. And I just don't really have a strong lean here either way in this fight, right off the top. Everyone on Tapology is going with Casey. Like I said, I don't get why. There was a long period where I just picked women's underdogs, man, unless it was like someone I knew was for sure going to win, and it paid off for a while. I think Lipsky's looked a lot better. I know she had a bad run, originally. She got knocked out a few times or whatever, but I feel like she's looked a lot better in the last few fights. So Lipsky is 29 years old, 5'6" with a 67-inch reach. She is 16-8 and 5-5 in the UFC. She's a plus 142 underdog. And like I said, I know she had a rough career for a while, but since dropping back down to 125, she's looked a lot better. She's fought some really tough competition, man. She has 6 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. The key thing for me here is that she beat J.J. Aldrich, who everyone is very high on right now, who's looked very impressive except for against Lipsky. She seems to have made a lot of improvements. Nice kickboxing, been over at American Top Team, working on her wrestling. Good counters, good at pressuring her opponents. And if I don't look at Lipsky's last 2 fights, I could see an easy case to pick Casey O'Neill here. But that win over Aldrich is really impressive to me, man. And her takedown defense has improved a lot. She hit a nice throw on Gatto in her last fight. Gatto's a pretty high-level grappler. I mean, I guess I could pick like everybody else and just kind of pick the favorite. I kind of want to pick Lipsky, man. I think I'm going to go with Lipsky, man. I'm going to take her to win by decision. And my main reason behind that is because I'm more impressed with her win over JJ Aldrich than all of Casey O'Neill's wins. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna go with Lipsky, man. I don't know if I'll bet on it. Don't know if I'll put any money on it. But I'll go with Lipsky. Next up, we got Irene Aldana taking on Carol Rosa. Irene Aldana is 35 years old, 5'9", with a 68.5-inch reach. She is 14-7 and 7-5 in the UFC. She's a minus 200 favorite. 8 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. Didn't really understand why she got a title shot. I guess because she got 2 finishes in a row, maybe. Um, she has a nice boxing, good power, a lot of finishes in the UFC. She's going to be the taller, longer fighter here. She's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. There's never been a lot going on in the bantamweight or definitely the featherweight division where Rosa has been back and forth between featherweight and bantamweight. Um, and that's just I don't know, not a lot going on, man. And Aldana keeps her hands up where they're supposed to be. Nice calf kicks, good combinations, really snappy jabs. Doesn't throw wide, ugly shots. These girls have fought some of the same people recently, and Aldana won more dominantly, more impressively. She shows 50% takedown accuracy and 76% takedown defense. Lands on average 4.86 strikes per minute. But aside from against Nunes, Aldana's looked pretty good recently. She has good sweeps. She's good at attacking submissions off of her back when she's taken down. Good at using those submissions to sweep. She has struggled with fighters who use a very heavy grappling attack. Like Macy Chason was having some success. Aldana had a good first round. Chason was coming back and getting some takedowns and kind of winning the fight that way. And then she got the up kick to the liver. So, I mean, I don't know if Rosa is going to fight that way. If she does, she might stand a chance at winning this fight because she is a lot bigger than Aldana. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of back and forth on this one too, for, a little bit. But Carol Rosa is 28 years old. She's 5'5" with a 67.5-inch reach. She is 17-5 and 6-2 in the UFC, and she's a plus 165 underdog. And Carol's going to be like the bigger, thicker fighter here, if that makes sense. Which is how I like my women, thicker. And anyway, I would rather see Rosa win this fight, but she hasn't she hasn't beat anywhere near as tough a competition as Aldana has. She's coming off a split decision win over Yana Santos, who, Irene Aldana finished Yana Santos. Honestly think Aldana looks better for the most part everywhere, even though I'm a Rosa fan. Um, Rosa's exciting to watch. She fights well in the clinch. When her opponents come into the pocket, she's not going to back up. She just ducks her head and swings shots, man. And I mean, I guess her being the bigger, stronger fighter could come into play here, man. Because Irene Aldana is kind of tall and thin. But if Rosa goes out and does go for takedowns, she could definitely win this fight. If she can get Aldana down, I'm sure Aldana's been working on that a lot. Especially after the Nunes fight. But I think I'm still going to go with Irene Aldana here. Um, yeah, I'll take her to win by decision. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rosa ended up just spanning takedowns on her and ended up winning a decision. I don't think I'll be betting on this fight either. Um, Probably not. Maybe, I don't know. We'll find out. I don't remember if I put her on a parlay or not, honestly. Next up, we got Tagir Bekov taking on Cody Durden. And this is going to be a fun fight, I think. Bekov is 32 years old. He's 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. He is 14-2 and 3-1 in the UFC. He's a minus 155 favorite. I think he's actually more of a favorite now because this was a few days ago. This is a battle of two wrestlers, man. I think Cody has the advantage on the feet if it stays there. Tagir has 8 wins by submission, has never won or lost a fight by knockout. He does struggle if he can't get guys down. We saw that with Tim Elliott. This could be a close fight. Who's going to have the better wrestling here? Who do y'all think? Normally you would say what we're used to seeing. Team Russia would have the best wrestling. You know, Tagir's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. His striking isn't the greatest. He made Nate Maness look like look easy his last time out. Which is something he hasn't really done before. He's been kind of in boring fights before that, and he has nice trips and single legs and double leg takedowns. He finished Maness more impressively than Umar Nurmagomedov did, honestly. So there's that, and very strong top pressure, good sweeps, nasty submissions, great guillotine choke. He kind of showed us in his last fight what we've all been wanting to see because, like I said, boring fights before that. This fight's probably going to come down to how good Cody Durden's takedown defense is. Um, yeah, for sure. And Cody is 32 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. He is 16-4-1 and 5-2-1 in the UFC. He's a plus 135 underdog. So as much as I don't like Cody Durden, he has proven me wrong several times. He has used his wrestling to get 3 wins in a row now. And the fight before that, he knocked out JP Bays, but who hasn't done that? Cody's last 2 wins have been over really tough guys, but Cody hasn't really fought anybody lately with the wrestling of Bekov or any good wrestlers, really. I mean, Makayev finished Cody very quickly, so we didn't really get to see, how good his wrestling was against Makayev. And Cody's striking looked good in his last fight. He pressures guys. He pressures guys. He boxes then shoots over and over. Man, he really wears on guys. I mean, I know he looks pretty tired in the third round usually as well, but he's usually still able to get the takedowns. He's been submitted twice in the UFC, so submission defense and awareness might be the key to Gear winning this fight. Cody has the power advantage for sure. This is gonna be an interesting fight, man. Part of me wants to pick Durden. I'd rather see him win this fight. I'm just not sure that I can pick against Tagir's wrestling. Um, Cody's good at hand fighting, using his lead hand to make openings. He's very aware of the sweeps on the ground. He's good at preventing the sweeps. Um, been back and forth on this one, man. And who's everybody on Tapology going with? Everybody's going with Bekov for the most part. I guess I'm going to go with Bekov, man. I think he's going to have the superior grappling, and I don't know, but we'll see, man. If Cody's takedown defense holds up, he'll probably just beat Tagir up on the feet. So, but I'll go with Bekov. Next up, we got Vicente Luque taking on Ian Gary. Vicente Luque is 32 years old, 5'11" with a 76-inch reach. He is 22-9-1 and 15-5 in the UFC, and he's a plus 210 underdog. And yeah, Luque has a nice Darce choke, but he's primarily known for his striking. Great Muay Thai striking. His takedown defense looked pretty improved in his last fight against Dos Anjos. RDA was having a lot of success in the first round, but Luque turned it around and got the win. Got some takedowns himself in that fight as well, which is not normally how he fights. He looked to be more patient and measured in that fight. Kept the fight pretty clean, wasn't getting wild. Great front kicks to the stomach. Beats up the arms with his high kicks a lot, kind of just to kind of deaden the arms, of his opponents. He does that a lot. He hits very hard. His jab was busting RDA up. 11 wins by knockout, 8 wins by submission. He's fought the way tougher competition out of these two, that's for sure. If we look at his record, the last 2 losses were to Jeff Neal and Bilal Muhammad. But he's, fought Michael Chiesa, Tyron Woodley, Randy Brown, Nico Price. Had a loss to Stephen Thompson back in the day. Beat Mike Perry, Derek Krantz, Brian Barberina, Jalen Turner, Nico Price again. Lost to Leon Edwards. He's beaten Bilal Muhammad. He beat Bilal Muhammad back in the day, but lost to him the second time they fought. I mean, all around pretty solid record, honestly. Where was I at? Yeah, I can't stand Ian Gary, man. I'd like to see Luque win this fight. I think Luque is going to probably look to get Gary down here. Not sure if he's going to be able to do that. I just think that Luque may have trouble dealing with the range of Gary. If Luque can't get on the inside, he could absolutely. If he could get on the inside, he could absolutely land a big shot. But and he does fight well in the clinch. Maybe he can score some control time that way. But But Luque will have a 2-inch reach advantage, so maybe he doesn't need to get on the inside. But I don't know, man. Most people have trouble getting inside on Ian Gary, man. And Ian Gary is 26 years old, 6'3", with a 74-inch reach. He is 13-0 and 6-0 in the UFC. He's a minus 260 favorite. 7 wins by knockout and 1 win by submission. The UFC has been doing a good job of giving Ian fights that kind of fit his style. I think it's a matter of time until he fights someone who can actually wrestle, that will actually fight a mixed game plan against him. They don't want to give him to Shavkat Rakhmonov because they know he's going to lose. I respect Gary's game. I just can't stand how cocky he is. He's a tall, rangy guy for welterweight. Throws good technical strikes. Fights very long. Counters very well. He's very good at keeping guys on the outside. Dangerous kicks. I just can't get him getting busted up by Jordan Williams in his debut out of my head, man. He was getting caught with some big shots in that fight. I know he won the fight, and I know he got the knockout, but man, he was getting beat up for a minute, man. And he's very powerful and accurate with his strikes. I think this is a bad matchup for Luque, man, unfortunately. And I think the younger guy is going to get the win here. And I'm going to take Gary to win by decision. I'm rooting for Luque, but not anymore. I put a little bit of money on Gary, but I just think it's a bad matchup for Luque, unfortunately, man. I just hope they trying to figure out, who would you like to see Ian Gary fight next after this fight? Uh, put it in the comments, man, because I would like. I mean, I think Shavkat's kind of beyond having, being able. He shouldn't fight Ian Gary because Shavkat's finished all of his opponents, man, and he's on a 5-fight win streak in the UFC, I think. And Machado is on a 6-fight, 6-fight win streak. But Shavkat's been way more impressive. So I don't know, man. Who could they put Ian Gary up against next? I mean, Kamaru Usman. I don't know, man. Anyways, next up we got Tony Ferguson taking on Paddy Pimblett. Maybe they'll give Ian Gary, put him up against Stephen Thompson next. That'd be a good matchup, man, because that would play out on the feet. Thompson could land some good shots there. I'd like to see that. What do y'all think about that? You think that'd be a good next one for him? Anyways, Tony Ferguson is 39 years old, and I can't talk. He's 39 years old, almost 40 now. 5'11" with a 76.5-inch reach. He is 25-9 and 25-9 and 15-7 in the UFC. Plus 200 underdog. And I really wish Tony would win this fight, man. I can't stand Paddy Pimblett, really. I respect him and how good he is. I'm just not a fan of him. Tony's lost 6 fights in a row, man, and he's been finished in 4 of those fights. They don't very often let guys continue after losing, 4 straight in a row, let alone 6 straight. So, but to be fair, man, this is a serious drop down in competition for Tony, man, compared to who he's been fighting. So at least there's that. At one point he was on a 12-fight win streak in the UFC, man, and in his prime he was a monster, man, very dangerous. With his elbows, throws a ton of volume. He leaps in with elbows, very creative, very unorthodox. Very dangerous off of his back. 11 wins by knockout, 9 wins by submission. He looked good in the first round of the Chandler fight. Honestly, he was winning that fight until the kick happened at the beginning of the second round. So, unfortunately, that happened to him. Great calf kicks, really tricky footwork, switches stances back and forth a lot. He really throws good elbows on the feet and even off of his back, man. He cuts guys up with those. He cut Chandler up whenever Chandler had him down. Yeah, he's been submitted in his last 2 fights. So maybe that's a key for, Paddy to win that way. Tony has 67% takedown defense, lands on average 5 strikes per minute, absorbs 4.26 strikes per minute, 35% takedown accuracy. He is going to have a 3.5-inch reach advantage in this fight, so there's another thing in his favor there. Man, I would love to see him win this fight, man. I can't stress you how much I would like to see him win this fight. Win this fight and then retire, man. That would be so cool if he did. I'd love to see that for him. He's taking on Paddy Pimblett. He is 28 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. He is 20-3 and 4-0 in the UFC. He's a minus 250 favorite. And starting off, man, I thought I thought Paddy Pimblett lost the Jared Gordon fight. I don't know if everybody agrees with me or not. But other than that, his wins in the UFC aren't all that impressive. I guess Jordan Levitt was his best win, other than that. He's a well-rounded. He's a pretty good grappler. 5 wins by knockout and 10 wins by submission. I do think Tony is better skill-wise on the feet, but it's quite possible that if Paddy hits Tony, he's going to hurt him. Tony's taken a lot of damage in his last 6 fights. Paddy has a judo background as well. Nice throws, good hip tosses, great jiu-jitsu. Um, we saw him have a little bit of trouble with the wrestling of Jordan Levitt in that fight. He ended up getting the submission, but uh, I don't feel like I have to say too much more, man. You got to go with the guy who's been winning. I hope Paddy loses, but I have to pick him to win this fight, unfortunately. And if this fight was 3 or 4 years ago, Tony would smoke him for sure. But he's on a 6 fight losing streak. I've got to go with Paddy. I'm gonna take him to win by submission in round 3. But I probably won't. I'm not gonna be betting on this fight at all because I'm gonna be rooting for Tony. So next up, we got Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Stephen Thompson. And grabbing some water. So you can tell which fighters I get excited about because my notes are like double the length on them or whatever. But Shavkat Rakhmonov is 29 years old. He's 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. He is 17-0 and 5-0 in the UFC, and he's a minus 600 favorite. And y'all know how high I am on Shavkat, man. I think he's the future champion right now. Not a lot of people are trying to fight him. All his wins have been by finish, 8 knockouts and 9 submissions. He's not going out there and skating by with decisions. He's finishing everyone. Undefeated, very well rounded, tall, rangy guy for the division. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage in this fight. Has a big power advantage as well. This I guess in this matchup, his wrestling and grappling are probably his biggest strengths in this fight. He beat some really tough guys, man. Carlston Harris is a very good underrated fighter. Neil Magny, Jeff Neal. He does everything well, man. Great counter striking, very strong in the clinch, great trips and body lock takedowns, great throws and hip tosses, great takedown defense, 100% takedown defense, very good guillotine choke, 59% takedown accuracy, which is very good. 59% striking accuracy, which is very good, sorry. And lands 4.45 strikes per minute, but only absorbs 2.61 per minute. 54% striking defense, averages a takedown and a half per 15 minutes. Uses his jab very well, very good at using his height and his reach. His average fight time is less than 2 rounds. This guy dominated over in M1 before the UFC, man. And there's a lot of tough Russian guys over in M1. That's no easy task, man. And he's got great sweeps. He's good at using the wizard to maneuver his opponent and stay on his feet. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, man. He doesn't overexert himself. He fights very aggressive, but not wild, man. He's very measured with what he does. I could go on all day about how good he is, man. He fights very smart. If he does fight smart here, this is his fight all day. He fights very well in the pocket. He's very good at exiting the pocket, just enough. Exits the pocket just enough, and barely steps out of the pocket. Changes his angle, and when he does that, it kind of makes his opponents turn, and it gives him more openings with his punches. And if you fight smart, man, he should go out here and get Thompson up against the cage and get him down and get a submission. Stephen Thompson is 40 years old, almost 41 now. 6 foot tall with a 75-inch reach. 17-6-1 and 12-6-1 in the UFC. He's a plus 425 underdog. And 8 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. There's not a lot of people out there who are better strikers than Wonderboy. Great karate style striking, just an amazing kickboxer, man. But we've seen that guys with good grappling can get him down and control him pretty easily. Kevin Holland kind of gave Thompson that fight by being stupid and letting Thompson, get up rather than keeping him, down, which is, I know we all wanted to see that, but it was just kind of not smart on Holland's, behalf to have done that because he probably could have took the fight if he stayed on top. Wonderboy's kicks are amazing. His best weapons, hook kicks, side kicks to the face, really good footwork and head movement. He may be the better striker here for sure, but I think Shavkat's going to have the power advantage. And in my opinion, this is a very bad matchup for Wonder Boy. He's 40 years old now, almost 41. I think Shavkat's going to go out there, get the clinch, get the takedown, get the submission. Unless he's just going to go out and make a bad decision and strike with Stephen Thompson the whole time. But even then, uh, Rachmanov's pretty powerful and good. So I think this is going to be Wonder Boy's first submission loss of his career. Um, Unfortunately, I'm a big fan of his. Big fan of Rachmanov as well, though, and taking Rachmanov to win by submission in round 3. Yeah, round 3. Next up, we got the co-main event: Pantoja versus Royval. And this, honestly, I mean, it's cool that we're getting this on this pay-per-view too. I mean, this wouldn't be a bad fight to headline a card. Sorry, my mic is making static noises. Hopefully, y'all aren't hearing that. Pantoja is 33 years old. He's 5'5" with a 68-inch reach. He is 26-5 and 10-3 in the UFC, and he's a -170 favorite. And he's never been finished. All his losses have been by decision. He's only lost to really tough guys. 8 wins by knockout, 10 wins by submission. Very good grappling, dangerous submissions. Obviously these guys fought before, and Pantoja won by submission. I picked Pantoja to win against Brandon Moreno, for the title, but it wasn't dominant, man. It wasn't a very dominant win. It was very close. A lot of people thought he should have lost that fight. He did drop Moreno in the first round. It was a fun fight. It was a good fight, man. And he's got a real nice lead, left hook, great ground and pound, very good top pressure. Honestly, all signs kind of point to him that he should win this fight with his takedowns and his grappling. He shows 45% takedown accuracy, 67% takedown defense. Lands on average 4.41 strikes per minute and absorbs 3.81 strikes per minute. He averages 1.75 takedowns per 15 minutes. He did look very tired after the first round in his last fight, man, and it's crazy how he was somehow able to come back and get a decision. I will say this: I don't know if everybody agrees with me or not, but I'm so glad the UFC is mixing things up and giving someone else a shot at the title because, I mean, I'm sick and tired of seeing the same few people fighting for the title all the time. All we saw was Figueiredo and Moreno for years, and then if with it being a split decision on the last fight, Pantoja and Moreno, I figured they would just turn around and give Moreno another shot again, and it's just who cares? I mean, just let's get some new people in there. So I'm happy that they're giving Royval a shot. Um, and Royval is 31 years old. He's 5'9" with a 70.5-inch reach. He is 15-6 and 5-2 in the UFC. He's a plus 146 underdog. So Royval is sorry, I can't talk today. Royval is a super exciting, super wild and creative guy. He's going to have the power advantage, I believe, in this matchup. He's very fast, 4 wins by knockout, 9 wins by submission. Has really good submissions. He does fight very reckless, but that's what makes him so dangerous. And this is a guy who choked out Kai Kara France and Tim Elliott. So those are both very impressive wins. He's only lost to the 2 guys who had just fought for the title, Moreno and Pantoja. And he lost the Moreno fight due to an injury because his shoulder popped out of the socket. So we didn't even really get to see that full fight. All but one of his wins in the UFC have been by finish. And because of that, I do see why the UFC has given him the title shot here. That's what we want. We want a knockout, submission finisher as our champ. That's what people want to see. And that was a very impressive knockout of Nicolau, the last time out. I don't think anybody really saw that coming. So his takedown defense has always been, not the best, but he is dangerous off of his back. And he's used to fighting off of his back because everybody tries to take him down. He went through a lot of adversity in his debut against Tim Elliott. He got taken down a lot and came back and and choked him out. I think it was an arm triangle. He's very tall and rangy for the weight class. He's going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage in this fight. He pushes a really tough pace, really nice elbows and knees. Throws a very fast high kick, man. Very good at wrapping up the arms and legs on the ground for sweeps and submissions. And the smart pick here is definitely Pantoja. I will not argue with that with anybody. I'm telling all you guys you should probably pick Pantoja, okay? But personally, I'm taking Royval to land a big shot, land one of those crazy knees or something like that, and maybe get a knockout for the first time in Pantoja's career. He has 5 rounds to work, man. I think if he gets out of the first round, Pantoja's going to slow down. I'm not super confident in that. On paper, Pantoja should win. I agree with y'all. Y'all should probably pick him. He is a rightful favorite, but for some reason, I just have a gut feeling that Royval's going to get the win here somehow. So I'm going to pick him, man. Not going to get heavily invested in it. I might just put him on, one of my big parlays, but I'm going to take Royval. Next up, we got the main event: Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. Sorry, my voice is going out after talking for probably been an hour now straight. So Edwards is 32 years old, 6'2", with a 74-inch reach. He is 21-3 and 13-2-1 in the UFC. Well, why does it say 13-2-1? I guess they didn't include it like I did on the on the overall. But yeah, he's 13-2-1 in the UFC because of the Bilal Muhammad fight. He's a minus 141 favorite, and the only reason I could want Colby to win this fight is because he's American. That's really the only thing that would be good about him winning for me, I guess. I'm not a fan of his really, but I definitely respect his wrestling and his toughness and how he kind of revitalized his career. Because at one point, even though he was winning fights, they were boring and nobody really cared to see him fight. And then Colby started playing the bad guy and had some good fights with Usman, so I respect that. Edwards is an amazing striker, a great kickboxer who's on an 11-fight win streak. I believe it's an 11-fight win streak, not including the no contest to Bilal Muhammad, where he was winning that fight, and because of the eye poke, Bilal couldn't continue. He has improved his takedown defense a whole lot, man. Clear advantage on the feet in this fight. 7 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. Power advantage on the feet as well. He's been fighting the tougher fights. He's been fighting more often. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. 69% takedown defense. Lands and absorbs about the same amount of strikes at 2.80 and 2.40 per minute. So it doesn't put out a lot of volume, but doesn't need a lot of shots either. Great calf kicks, very technical striking. Honestly think he's the clear and obvious pick here, man. After the way he's performed against Usman, who beat Covington twice, I think he is. I'm not really sure why the line's so close. Colby Covington is 35 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. He is 17-3 and 12-3 in the UFC. He's a plus 119 underdog. And Colby hasn't fought in over a year and a half. His last fight was a win over a retiring Jorge Masvidal. So not Jorge at the top of his game. Who has Colby beat in the last 3 years that's been really impressive? Tyron Woodley was done by the time they fought, and so was Jorge. Colby's boxing has improved a lot, but he's not going to want to strike with Leon. Colby uses great pressure, grip pressure and forward movement, a really tough pace, but if he can't get Leon down here, he's not going to win. And Leon has improved so much, man. He's been training to defend against wrestlers, for the last few years, like solid, because he's been fighting Usman. And I don't think Colby's going to be able to get him down, man. And I'm going to take Edwards to win. Colby's very tough. So, Colby is very tough. Sorry about that. He's very tough, so I don't think Edwards is going to finish him. I'm going to take Edwards to win by decision, but I'm surprised he's not a bigger favorite. I like the price on him though, so I mean, I think he's a clear, obvious pick here, man. I don't know if anybody thinks different. Just let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear your opinion. For sure, man. I'm always open to that. I'd like to see why the line's so close and what people are thinking. If you are going with him. So yeah, if you are, let me know, man. I respect everybody's opinion and I want to hear everybody's opinion. So, but that's it as far as my picks go, guys. As far as my bets go, pull these up real quick. So as far as my bets go for this card, got a couple of underdog plays. They're small plays, nothing big. I have a half unit play on Shamil Gaziev at plus 150. I have a 1 unit play on Leon Edwards at minus 141. It's a decent price. I put quarter unit play on Brian Kelleher. It's actually like $200, which is a little less than a quarter unit. It's a plus 175 play. So, little risk for a bigger reward, man. So I don't mind that. And then I got a Shavkat Rakhmonov, Ian Gary parlay. It's at minus 200, and that's a 2 unit play. So, there's that. And then as far as parlays go, there were a few fights that I didn't include on these, man. And the first parlay is Rakhmonov, Gary, Edwards, and Jacoby. That's a plus 254. and then I added. Who did I add? I added. I added Bekov and Gaziev, and that's a plus 1,304. And is it this one? Yeah, this one. And then I added Patty Pimlet and Brian Kelleher. That's a plus 4,949. That's an 8 fight parlay. I'll leave it up for a minute. And then to that I just added Brandon Royval. That's a plus 12,321. Y'all know I don't ever put a lot of money on these parlays. Um, usually at the most I put $50 on them. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it doesn't, man. I used to not post these, because I don't like giving people bets that I'm not very confident are gonna hit. And for the most part, yeah, I've had like a few weeks ago, I had several of my parlays hit, my big ones, along with my single bets. But for the most part, they don't hit. And I know somebody commented on my picture for my parlays for the Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez card. And he was like, yeah, and he said the quickest way to lose $20, and you're right, man, you're right. But it's not a lot of money, man. And sometimes I do regret that I usually lose like $200 on parlays if they don't hit, or if at least one of them doesn't hit, every week. But I usually come out with a good bit, off my other bets. So yeah, it works itself out. It cuts into my profits a little bit, but I do this because a lot of people bet this way, man. So if I was betting this way, these are the ones that I'm gonna put out myself. So I figured I'd show them because people wanted to see them. And sometimes they pay off. So I mean, I guess the few times a year that my big parlays do hit kind of covers the losses, and like this plus 12,321 parlay right here. If this hit, that's 6 grand, probably over 6 grand in my pocket just off that. So I always make them because I'm addicted to them because I've hit some big parlays before. I won 10 grand on a parlay a couple years ago. Um, yeah, I'm addicted to them, so I make them even though I lose a little bit of money every week making them, but it's all right, man. It's not a lot of money. So and as far as that's all my bets, dude, and let's go back to this. Let's just go take a look. I know I'm posting this on Friday, so most of y'all aren't going to hear or care to hear my changes to the about the changes to the Song versus Gutierrez card. But I figured I would go over that real quick. And so Alon Nascimento is not fighting anymore, and which sucks because I had him tied up in one of my bets. And Nascimento withdrew. They added Steve Garcia versus Costa to this card. They were supposed to fight last week. I'm still going with Costa there. Um, and they replaced Alon Nascimento with Tim Elliott on short notice. And I think, Tim Elliott's a minus 140. I think people should probably hit that line. Um, his wrestling is good enough, and Sumadarji's takedown defense is bad enough that Tim Elliott should be able to win this fight pretty easily. He's taken down and beaten, a few strikers recently. Um, who are those two people he beat? I know he beat Bekov, which is an impressive win. If he can beat him, he can beat Sumadarji. He beat Victor Altamirano, who's a very good striker, and he actually didn't do as bad as I thought he was going to against Makayev. I know he did get finished, but he had a little bit of success in the first round. And this fight's going to be up at 135, so I expect him to look kind of better at that. I know it's on short notice, but I think he's going to be able to get the takedowns easily and win a decision here. So Sumadarji's got really bad takedown defense. So I'm going to go with Tim Elliott, and I guess that's really the only change to the card that we have to talk about, I guess. I guess we've lost some more fights, man. That sucks. This card's barely got any fights on it now. Either way, man. So yeah, I had a bet on Tiara and Nascimento, a 2 fight parlay. So now that's going to be a parlay. Just it's not a parlay now. It's just a play on Tiara, which I was gonna cash it out, but I put $1,000 on it, and they're only letting me cash it out for 850. So I'm not gonna lose money taking it out, you know. So I'm just gonna let it ride on Tiara, and I might add another play, you know, on somebody else or something to kind of cover that loss. But um, yeah, and then other than that, I got to play on Kevin Jousset, and hopefully he wins. Um, it'd be nice to make some money this weekend and next weekend, and go out for that month with a little bit of money in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? But y'all have a good one, man. I really appreciate all you guys for caring what I had to say. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe, and y'all have a good one, man. I'm out of here.